Hi there, welcome to the Preparing for FLS Placement interview slidecast series. In this slidecast I'm going to be talking about how you can research an organisation. So first of all, in your research, go back to the original job advert for the placement that you applied for. Look at this job advert and look at it in detail. Look at the language used, whether there are any words or phrases that are repeated. For example, is teamwork mentioned 2 or 3 different times? The repetition of words or phrases is likely to infer that it's an important factor. And also look at how the organisation is described. If the job advert only has limited information, then you could take a look at other job adverts for that organisation. Clearly, it's wise to choose roles that are similar as possible to the placement role that you are applying for. Look for recurring words or phrases, both recurring within a job advert or between job adverts, as this will give you a really good idea of what the company values. If there are no other roles similar that you can look up, then you could look for similar posts on prospects.ac.uk and look under entry requirements for the type of skills that are needed in that role. Alternatively, you could do a Google search for the placement title, such as research assistant or research technician or scientific information technician, and see what descriptions are given for that type of role in a range of other organisations. If you're going to take this approach, you do need to make sure that you do close research on the organisation you're applying for, because organisational values between one organisation and another can be quite different. So how can you tell what's important to an organisation? Well, I've taken a job advert for a placement here, and I've highlighted some of the important words. So under the job accountabilities, it's given you an idea of the type of organisation: dynamic, vibrant, global presence, range of skills. It's then talking about the candidate and how they will learn their skills. There'll be an eagerness, they'll be able to quickly apply them. They'll be involved in documentation, report writing and presenting work, and also cross-skilling. So what this is telling you is actually you're going to need to be good at communication skills. You're going to be working in different teams, across different teams, so you're going to need teamworking skills. You're going to need to demonstrate that you can learn quickly and apply your learning, so thinking of examples there. But interestingly, these things aren't mentioned in the key responsibilities. In the key responsibilities explain to you some of the things which you're going to be doing, which are perhaps more around the technical side. So the analysis and reporting of data, the interpretation and communication of findings, and this will be done to teams of people, and also the ability to develop and optimise lab techniques. Secondly, once you've looked at the placement advert that you originally applied for, take a look at the organisational website. For corporate organisations, you're usually looking for the About Us section, or sometimes it might be called Our Values or Our People. In this section, it'll tell you about what they value and what the vision is for their business. If you're applying for research roles, then you can check out the research grouping or the institute where you'll be based to find out what topics they're working on, roughly what size the research centre is, and whether they train PhDs. You can then look in more detail at the person who is supervising. Most institutions will have research profiles for their supervisors, often listing their most recent or most notable papers. You should also do a PubMed search to check out their most recent research papers, particularly any that are relating to your project. My third tip would be to realise that you're in a really great position being in the Faculty of Life Sciences as a placement student, because there are going to be a lot of placement students who are returning to do their 4th year. So talk to previous placement students who've returned from the organisation where you're going to have an interview. Alternatively, if there are no students who were there the previous year, but there are some students who are placed there this year, talk to the placement office or talk to your placement advisor and see if you can find the details of the person who's currently on placement. You can also check to see whether your placement organisation are visiting the university and go along and talk to them at a careers fair or at a careers panel. And also there's usually contact details provided either on the placement advert or on the organisational website. And use that contact email or phone number, or it might be that they also have social media contacts as well through Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook. My fourth tip is make sure you check the profile of the organisation you're interested in on social media. Companies and individuals use social media to share information. I've given you some examples here of how large organisations are using Facebook, LinkedIn, blogs and Twitter. However, if you're applying for a research position, it may also be that a lab grouping or a lab head, a supervisor, uses social media to share information about their research. Before your interview, check what content is on the major social media sites, such as Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. This will be a really useful source of background information on what is currently important to the organisation or the individual in the case of a research post. And it will potentially also give you an insight into some of the current trends within the sector. My fifth tip would be to look for news articles. Use Google to look for the organisation or the individual, but also more broadly the themes. So for example, if you're applying for a placement within a pharmaceutical company, Google pharmaceutical news to find out what's coming up. Look for information in the general press, but also in the specific sector press. Check out professional organisations for trending issues. An example would be the ABPI, or the Association of British Pharmaceutical Industries, for pharma news within the UK. If you're unsure about what professional organisations there might be for the sector where you're applying for a placement, come and talk to us in the Careers Service, or check out our What Career Guide, which highlights different sector themes and highlights where you can find out information about these sectors. So continuing on the discussion about research in the sector, there are a range of sector organisations displayed here on the slide. For broad sectors such as pharmaceuticals, fast-moving consumer goods and medical communications, there are some sector-wide organisations. If you're interested in research in the sector, if you're applying for an academic placement, then it's worth looking at the relevant professional society and also looking at publications which are trending or of interest within the scientific community. Cell and Nature can be a good guide as to what is particularly popular and trending within scientific research. This slidecast is one in a series of 4 slidecast for FLS placement students. Other slidecasts in the series are What Should I Expect on the Day, which runs through the basics of what to expect as an interview. The second is What and How Do I Tell Them About Me? In this slidecast, we look at advice about how you can prepare your information to really get across the best of your skills and attributes. And then the final slidecast is around answering interview questions. And in this slidecast, I talk through typical interview structure for a placement interview and also cover different types of questions that you might be asked, giving worked examples. Finally, I just wanted to let you know that the Careers Service is here to provide you with support in securing a placement. You can book a one-to-one confidential appointment at the atrium or in school to talk through your application or to ask questions about different places to look for placements. We have a whole range of employer events and campus visits, both in school and more broadly across the university. We've got a whole range of skills sessions, again in school or at university level, around writing your CV, practice assessment centres and much more. Check Careers link for when these events are happening. You can also have a practice interview, an interview simulation, and we also have Careers link, which is a database of placements, graduate and volunteering opportunities. You can access details of all of these services on the Careers website, which is linked here. Thank you for listening.